What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. This is episode 31. I think it's 31. Is it 31 or 32? Now I'm
31.
I'm saying it with bated breath.
31. I said it slowly, as though like it would come to me halfway through it, and 31 is not very long to have a thought form.
I said it slowly so he would understand it.
Chat knows what's up. They say 37. Anyway, welcome. This is LoreForged, the podcast for AshesOfCreation. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for pushing play. We're so stoked to have you here with us today. We are your hosts. I am Jibs, and I'm joined by, he's bald and beautiful. His name is Cash.
Oh, I thought you were going to Sunny, but then again, he has hair on top of his head. So you must be talking about me. Yeah, what's going on, people? Yeah, it's been a week. It's been a week. Let's just say it's been one of those weeks to where you really appreciate your family and friends. So there's that. Yeah. I love you all greatly.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. And he's beautiful, and he's balding, and he's less aerodynamic.
Oh, no.
He's our close friend, Sonny Ravencourt's here.
Oh, no.
You're fighting the good fight, though.
Yeah, it's one of those things, right? Like when the hair is still there and it's going away, then like suddenly it's very important to you. It is. Yeah. It is. You don't know what you got till it's gone. Type of moment. Is that Joni Mitchell? I feel like that might have been Joni Mitchell.
Don't know what
the song
got till it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, don't know what you got till it's gone. That was that Def Leppard?
No.
Def Leppard? Yeah, but what is wrong with you?
In the 90s, there was a female who sang the song.
Who? Okay, first of all, this was
it was a remake.
Big Yellow Taxi. I'm pretty sure it was Joni Mitchell, and it was written in like the 60s. I think she might have played it at Woodstock.
I was getting ready to say Woodstock. Yeah, the good one.
Okay, so here's a funny thing. If we're gonna do that, first of all, it was Cinderella. Okay, that did the remake of that song in the 80s or 90s, whenever it was. But here's the funny thing. How do you have such an old man eclectic taste in music, and you have more hair than both of us?
Clearly he doesn't have enough stress in his life.
You know how? Because from midnight to 6 a.m., what was your Friday night radio friend on 100.7 The Fox when I was 20?
All right. I'll allow it.
Music for 50-year-olds driving cabs around.
Okay, I'll allow it. Did you complain about said music list that you had to abide by?
No, that's my music, man. That is my music. 60s,
okay, then I get that. Okay, then my aggression stands, man. My aggression stands.
Music for me kind of ends in 1977.
I'm going to be
about where it ends.
And that's okay. I'm on board with Sonny here. I'm all full on board. I'm a huge fan of 30s and 40s big band and jazz. I don't care what anyone says.
30s and 40s. I love it.
Heck yeah. All day.
Yeah. What you both need is an injection of Lamb of God. That's what you guys need.
Bless your heart.
I get enough of that walking by the weight room at the station.
Good. At least I know some people in your life are sermoning up for you.
Oh, God. I love it.
Okay, so I got a couple things before we can even start the show here.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So do you want to tell them what's coming, and then I can do my thing here?
Yes. Sure. Okay. So anyway, before we get started onto the show, hey, everyone who's tuning in, by the way, in case you didn't know, maybe you missed it on the social medias, and on our community, our merch shop is open. Many of you have been requesting this. We've received DM after DM, and it's now available. So it's all there for you. We tried to keep it as affordable as possible. We just wanted you to get LoreForged merch in your hands as feasibly as possible. So anyway, go to LoreForged.com. It's on our Linktree landing page, and it's a very top link there. You can find it there, and we're going to be updating it, adding more stuff in the future. I think Wataro brought up travel mugs. So yes, that eventually will be a thing in the future as well. So fun things like that. But this week on the show, we are answering your mail, and then we are doing a dev discussion. We talked about it last week, but dev discussion on time dedication and MMOs. Sonny Ravencourt, take it away.
Okay. First things first, I'm going to give you guys the choice here. Behind door number 1 is a crazy story. Okay? It's going to take a hot minute, but it's a crazy story, and it happened to me literally today. Oh. And I told it on the stream earlier. And door number 2 is something that the community did for us. Okay? For the 3 of us.
Oh.
So Door number 1 or door number 2? We're going to open both doors. Which one do you want first?
Let's start.
Both doors. Which door gets me to talk about Ashes of Creation faster?
That would neither door.
Damn it. And you might as well pick, Sonny. What are you, my wife now? That's exactly the way she does it.
JB, cash is worthless. You pick a door.
Give me your long story first.
Okay, the story. All right,
Yeah.
you ready for this one?
Yeah, I need this in my life.
Okay, so I ran a marathon last year, and my feet still hurt from like October, right? So I'm like, I finally give up. I'm like, I'm just gonna go get new shoes. So I go drive to a different town. Okay, it's not far away. It's like 10 miles away, but it involves like taking the interstate for a short period of time and driving through a town and going to the shoe store, get the shoes, talk to Cash in the parking lot. Get back in. He wasn't in the parking lot. I talked to him on my phone in the parking lot. Then I got back in my car and I start driving away. Well, this sort of crossover looking vehicle is behind me. And I get onto the interstate. They're still behind me. I get off of the interstate on my exit, still behind me. I take a left. Now I'm going north on this fairly traveled road, still behind me. Not the most unusual thing. Then I turn onto the road that sort of gets into my little area of the world. And they turn. Okay, so now this is pretty unlikely, right? Now we've gone from another town through the interstate, north, on the well-traveled road, now onto the much, much less traveled road. They're still behind me. I take a left into my little area. There's so few houses that you count them in like single digits for house numbers, right? They turn, follow me, okay? Then I pull into my driveway, and they're still there, right behind me, okay? So now I'm in my driveway. My driveway is like 80 feet long, okay? So I pull my Jeep around. This person, I'm now watching this person intently through my rearview mirror. This person stops in my driveway, like right behind me. So I've pulled all the way up to my house. So I get out of the car, and I'm looking, and it's this woman. She's like a 45-year-old woman. She looks plain as can be. She's just kind of looking at me. So I walk over. I kind of wave at a reasonable distance, wave at her. She kind of looks at me, and she kind of like waves. I'm like, what is happening here? Okay. So I'm trying to process this. I'm not really feeling like I'm in danger, but this person has followed me home. Okay. And now they're just sitting in my driveway in a car. Like, I don't know what's going on. So I go over to like the driver's side. I still got a decent distance here. And I'm like, hi. And she goes, she's like through the closed door and window. She's like, hi. I'm like, and so I give her one of these. I'm like, like, what the hell are you doing? So she kind of opens the door a little bit, and I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, well, I followed you. I'm like, I know. Is there a reason why you followed me? And she goes, well, I was gonna do a clothes fitting for garments. And I'm like, well, I don't need any garments, and I don't have an appointment for a clothes fitting, so I'm not real sure what you're doing here at my house or why you followed me. She's like, well, I was following, maybe I didn't follow the right person. I'm like, no, well, definitely if you were supposed to be following somebody, you didn't follow the right person, because I don't think you're in the right spot, right? Now, think about this for a second, okay? You're following a person, you follow them all the way into like a driveway, right? And now you're just confused about it, and you don't get out of your car, and you don't look embarrassed or anything. You're not like apologetic. Just everything's off, right? Everything's wrong about this. And so I say to her, I'm like, well, can I help you in any way? Go where you need to go. Can you do that? And she's like, I don't want to hurt anybody. I'm like, okay, that's good. What would you like to do now? She's like, I guess I'll look at my GPS and go back to Hy-Vee and try again. So Hy-Vee is like the local chain of grocery stores. So this doesn't make any sense. She's going to go back to a different town, go to the grocery store, and then try following another person.
So what ended up happening?
So I'm like, okay, well, good luck. And then I back away. So instead of driving away like a normal person would do, she sat in her car as I was looking at her from 10 feet away for 10 minutes, just staring at me. And then eventually she goes to drive away, and she pulls forward, and then she backs into my house.
She hit your house?
She hit my house with the car.
Oh my God.
So now I'm like, no.
Did somebody check her blood sugar?
So now we're in a different ball game, right? Now everything is real. Now I'm like, okay. So she stops and I go, stop. I have to call the police now. And she's like, okay. I go, have you been drinking? She goes, I haven't had a drink in 4 years. I'm like, okay.
Did you reach in and grab her keys?
I should have, but I didn't.
We have a lot of I should have you and I are going to need to talk about after this one.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Right.
Oh man.
Not a trained law enforcement officer, right? Like I usually get these cases way after the fact.
You get them when they're dead.
But yeah, either when they're dead or in jail, right? Like one of the two scenarios ends up where I join.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna cut off a whole bunch of this.
Yeah.
Fire truck, 2 sheriffs, ambulance, all to the house. Talk to the lady. None of it makes sense, right? Like she's like, well, I was going to my daughter's place. Where's your daughter? Do you know where your daughter lives? Yes. Then why were you following this stranger into his driveway? None of it makes sense. Turns out meds. She was on bipolar meds and they switched the meds earlier this week. And apparently, so her husband eventually came and explained basically that this happened last year, that they adjusted her meds just a little bit and she ended up in a different town. Just no idea what was going on. So I'm like, oh my God, just unbelievable trying to sort all of this out. This happened this afternoon. This afternoon, a lady followed me home and then drove her car into the side of my garage.
Oh, my
Moral of the
God.
story, folks, is you never ever lead a stranger to your actual home. That's our first point. We'll talk more later, Sonny, after the break.
I mean, there, like in hindsight, a lot of things seem obvious, right?
Yeah. There's a few there.
Yeah.
So what's your second?
Yeah.
What's your second story? What did the community do for us?
Okay, you ready for this? This is a much happier story. Okay, and the damage to the house is minimal. So,
Oh, well, that's good.
yeah, it's not like I have to live in a hotel or
Good.
something like
Hopefully her insurance isn't minimal.
that. Yeah, she does have insurance though. The husband was pretty cool.
Perfect.
So I got something in the mail today from one of the people that is in our community. His name is Rogue C, and
cool.
you know him quite well. And he said that he worked with the community in large. He wanted to give a special shout out to Weevil and Wataru, but he said that the community in large helped out with this project. So the LoreForged community, and this, I hope this comes through well on camera, but this is what he sent. That is
Oh
the
my
logo.
gosh.
Look at
Glass
that.
etched.
Etched.
Etched
On
whiskey
the
glass.
other side,
Oh
it
my
says,
gosh.
That is beautiful. You know what's funny?
Sunny and LoreForged. Wait, friends.
Oh, it's a Sleepy Owl Tavern logo, whiskey glass etched. That's completely etched. That's so cool. Oh,
Stop it. Stop
is
it
so
right
cool.
now.
Cool.
One for JB.
oh my
Oh my
gosh. Look
God.
at the detail.
Sleepy Owl Tavern logo.
That is incredible. Rogue, are you here? He is
He's here.
He
Thank
is
you
here.
so much, man. Oh my
That makes
gosh.
my
Look at
day.
that.
And I will tell this is a much shorter story than
Come
followed
on, though.
home.
That was a good story.
Followed home.
Is this a
somebody
happy
crashed
one?
in my house. I actually was thinking about 20 minutes ago, as I was pouring my coffee for the show, I was thinking, I wonder if we could get whiskey glasses, because I ordered, a LoreForged beer glass. And I was actually thinking about how we could get whiskey glasses for LoreForged.
That is so cool.
And dude, that makes my day. Like, that makes my week.
That's amazing. Rogue, thank you so much. Oh my gosh. And the whole Lore Forge community, everybody, thank you. Wow.
Yeah, it's just
Wow, we've
and it's
never had that. That's
just
so cool.
gorgeous.
That's love.
Look at the etching. I can't believe the detail on the owl there.
I know,
That is
right? Like,
incredible.
We're gonna have to put a picture up for
Yeah, take
for
a
our
picture.
folks when
We'll
we
put it on our-
release the audio version of the show.
Absolutely. And by the way,
Thank you, Rogue.
everyone's listening.
Amazing.
We're now on Instagram as well. So you can follow us at LoreForged HQ.
I put them on Instagram.
And yeah, we'll put them on Instagram. Yeah, that is so cool. Wow, that's so cool.
Thank you, everybody, because it sounds like that came from
Yes.
a lot of folks. And thank you guys. Like this is a
community at
family.
Oh,
This is really a family. It's so freaking cool.
cool. Oh my gosh,
Thank you,
I can't
guys.
wait. That's so cool. Thank you. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well,
See?
on to
I told you it was good, right?
Strange
That was a good
Ladies
start,
and Whiskey
right?
Glasses. That's the name of the
It's
episode.
amazing.
Strange Ladies and Whiskey Glasses. Oh,
Kidnappings and whiskey.
kidnapped with. All right. So anyway, gentlemen, we got a piece of mail here. This is from Arched Beetle. He says, quote, I've been working to improve my TTRPG games for my players. And one thing that comes up again and again online is balancing combat, exploration, and social content. Most MMOs start out with a decent mix of these three types, but by endgame are mostly combat focused. What games do you think implement social and exploration content that is relevant for in-game play? Do you think Ashes of Creation will be one of those games, or will PvP largely fill that role? I'm going to go to Cash on this one first.
First of all, I love the fact that you're running a TTRPG. That makes me very happy to hear that.
I agree.
I also agree with him that balancing combat exploration and social content is something that is super important for TTRPGs. But I struggled a little bit to think about like what MMO really has done that with having those systems built natively into the game, as opposed to an MMO that has the opportunity for you to do that and make your own content at endgame, right? So say for instance, let's take a Star Wars: The Old Republic. Okay. The things that they would have for combat, that's obvious. That's the mechanics of the game. That's the big draw. That's where everybody wants to pull out their lightsaber and go, smackety smack, whether it's on players or you want to smackety smack on NPCs. That's already built into the game. Exploration, already built into the game, right? It's part of the world. You're exploring the world. Now, whether or not that's open world or on rails, like my example of SWTOR, is up to the game. But those two things are natively built into the game. And now you have this third concept of social content that Archbeetle is asking about. And in a TTRPG, yeah, the DM can completely like drive these things. For social content, you could say, okay, you're being summoned into a bar. It's freaking Taco Tuesday. Now you're in a tavern and you're kind of forced into this social environment, right? But what in an MMO would kind of balance out that third pillar, we could call it, of social content? So those are the things that I think that players kind of have to do on their own. So like role players, yeah, no big deal. Role players are already going to innately be doing that kind of stuff. Say you're putting on some kind of a social event for your guild, like I don't know, some kind of a role play thing you could be putting on, or some kind of a night where everybody gets together and does a raid. Could you really consider a raid something that you're doing socially? So I'll wrap it up with this. I think that, and SWTOR was just one example of several MMOs that could do this, but for the most part, I think in MMOs, the combat and the exploration are two things that are going to typically be native to those games. The social content, in large part, is going to be something that the people that you're playing with are going to have responsibility in making. Some people won't want to be part of that social content. Other people might want to be part of that social content. So I think probably 66% of what you're saying is already natively in the game, where the other like 33% in that social content is something that you got to get a little creative to do.
Yeah, I think you're right on with this. First of all, the idea of going to a tavern and it's Taco Tuesday in a TTRPG is just magical. Like,
yeah, we're writing content right now. We're doing it.
Why are we not doing this right now?
I like tacos.
It's Taco Tuesday somewhere, right?
That's
right. Okay. This is a really interesting and difficult question that had not really occurred to me until I see it written out like this. And when you write it out, like some of the people in the chat, like Adele, he's pointing out that like this doesn't really work like that. And that's kind of the way that I feel as well. You have a whole game where it's exploration, and at the end, you've explored all the things. The only time I ever really see exploration in the end game is when you get a new dump of content, right? When you get a DLC, or when you get an expansion, or when you get something like that, and it says, here's a new zone, go explore, right? You're already max level, but that's not really max level content. Now you're just a little bit further away from max level again, right? Like you've just got a higher max level usually, or you're not going to level up, but you're not at the end game. The end game is when you're done the exploring. That's inherently, to me, the way that MMOs are built, which is kind of disappointing when you really think about it, that once you hit max level, you're kind of done exploring. The social part is a totally different thing for me. The social part is about providing the players mechanisms to build their own social things. Like Cash said, at the end game, and even kind of in the middle, but mostly at the end, you need to have mechanisms in place that allow the players to develop their own social ecosystem. You need to have guilds. You want to give them guild halls where they can hang out. You want to create raid type of situations where they can say, hey, we are going to do the legwork and get the people together. And we are going to develop this storyline to go out together into this cave or whatever. And you just need to give us this mechanism to allow us to do it. That's the way that I feel end game goes. Exploration, I'm sorry, it's basically over. Although somebody did bring up a good point that like in a game that the map is constantly changing, maybe that's not the case. I hope so. I mean, maybe Ashes throws us a curveball on this one, but certainly not my experience in past MMOs. But social is even more at the end game than it is in the beginning levels, because that's where the people want to hang out.
Yeah, you both bring up really, really good points. And honestly, Sonny, I think you said exactly what I would say as well. Truthfully, I think I have to, like you, break it up into two different points. And I'll probably speak more to AshesOfCreation on this, but when it comes to at least the exploration point, like you kind of hit the nail on the head. Like most of the time, it's a result of an expansion or some kind of patch that opens up new content that takes you to the in-game content. Like that's currently really what's been shown. And when it comes to social, oftentimes players have to create that for themselves. That ultimately does not lead anywhere, aside from good stories to be told over Discord or people who maybe like to do some fan fiction writing off of it. But I think when it comes to Ashes, and kind of seeing it here in chat, again, Adaware says, with Ashes, this might be more possible, changing zones based on who owns it, things no one has yet seen even at max level. You know, that's a good point. Really, with AshesOfCreation, there's always that certain, at least to me at face value, I feel like Ashes has a certain level of randomness attached to it based off of choice, and no server will be the same node on every server, you know, won't be the same. And so it really just comes down to the randomness that happens based off of player choice. That player chooses to maybe, you know, make a 25-point turn with a caravan off the beaten path, and that leads them somewhere else.
Austin Powers turn.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, I just don't think that when it comes to the current market, from what I've personally played, and I'm sure there's things out there, but just of what I can speak to from what I've played, I don't feel like there is a game out there that's MMO that really has this on both fronts. Maybe we'll see that with Ashes.
I think the big thing for me is that that whole aspect, and just like, you know, really all of us were saying, that whole aspect of the social, the developers putting the social mechanics in there for you to be able to do it. And we're seeing this kind of being a recurrent theme with a lot of the development questions that they're asking. You know how like they throw questions out to the community, just like the ones we're going to cover tonight. But the one with esports, that one really caught my attention a bit, because, you know, here we are, and here the community is just having this massive debate over esports and whether or not they're going to fit in our MMO. And the whole time, like the development team at Intrepid, they just wanted to know which ones that we liked so they could figure out how to best support us. And that just like lifted my spirits.
What
If
a
my
box of fire ants they opened with that one, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because, you don't normally think esports when you think an MMO. You just don't. Like, there's only a few of them out there that have really been able to pull it off. World of Warcraft's probably the biggest ones with their Mythic series and such that we've talked about on videos in our show and all that stuff. But when you get down to the brass tacks of that and realize that the reason they were doing that was so that they could find out best with just what their players, their community wanted to see and how they could best support that with mechanics in the game, that made me very, very happy. And I think, with like the questions that we're going to cover tonight, it's kind of the same type of thing. There is a portion of this game that we are going to be responsible for on our own, not them. They're just setting up the building blocks so that we can go out and create those things. We can go out and have our Taco Tuesday at the Sleepy Owl Tavern if we want to. They're not going to provide the tacos, but they're going to provide the means to get the tavern there and possibly a calendar for us to set that event up with our guild, and the ability for our guild can come to, so our guild can come to a freehold, and then maybe even a recipe for tacos in the game, right? If they're providing those things, our Taco Tuesday is a thing.
Yeah. And, like on that point, like just allowing that, just creating the game in such a way that it just allows that like natural player interaction that seems to be spawned off of, in part, falling in love with their character or falling in love with the world. I don't feel like, particularly the world part, like Cash, I know you and I have had conversations recently about, playing an MMO that you love the world for, wanting to play, be able to fall in love with the world again. And I feel as though oftentimes, and I don't mean to create another topic off a topic, but I feel like oftentimes current MMOs, particularly the more modern ones, they speed you along so quickly, and this actually may lead into time dedication, but speed you along so quickly that you don't have that chance to fall in love with the world. You don't have that chance to really like learn the map. And like, I remember distinctly Red Dead Redemption 2 playing that because it's so slow, like, oh, I remember this place. I know where I'm at, like I can count maybe on one hand how many times that's ever happened to me in Warcraft.
Yeah. And I think, go ahead, Sonny.
I mean, a lot of what you're saying does lead us into the next question, right? That it starts to talk about time dedication and expert versus amateur and stuff like that. But I think that we all agree, right? It's tools at the end that really are going to provide that kind of thing. I wonder if Cash will post a video that says, with a nice clickbaity headline that says Ashes will fail if he does not get a calendar. I've never met anyone that believes that more hinges on an in-game calendar than Cash does with an MMO.
Dude, so first of all, do you know how excited I get when I log in? And I log into World of Warcraft, right? Because it just seems to be the MMO that we keep going back to playing. And we just can't get away from it no matter what we try.
It's a sickness. It's all right.
It really is. So I get excited to check the calendar for global events and things that are going on. Not necessarily because we don't have a guild in WoW. We're just kind of
passing the
lazily
time.
wandering or just trespassing in Azeroth.
Yeah, pretty much.
But seriously, so I get very excited to actually look at a calendar. So yeah, a calendar is important to me, especially as a guild leader. It's going to be very important to me. Second point, we do not post clickbaity stuff. So that probably won't happen. Now, would I ever put a video up about the importance of a calendar? Absolutely. But it's going to be one of those things where if you want to watch it and you're interested in what that has to do, that's why you're going to click on it. You're not going to click on it because I have some groundbreaking question that supposedly I'm going to answer in the first 30 seconds of this
It's going to
video.
be red letters. It's going to say, will Ashes fail because of this? Question mark. And you're going to be like right in the camera.
I almost want to do it as a
amazing.
parody at this point. Just like, let's make the most clickbaity thumbnail we could possibly make. Just drives me nuts.
Well, Archbeetle, thank you so much for the mail. And don't forget to everyone who's listening or watching here at LoreForged Live, which, by the way, to everyone who is listening instead of watching the show, you can come be a part of the live show experience. We have a wonderful community of people who show up every week. Anyway, you can follow us on our socials. It's at we stream at twitch.tv/LoreForgedHQ, and we're getting ready to start dual streaming. Sunny's been tinkering with it, so we're going to start simulcast. I'm sorry, we're actually going to start streaming on YouTube at the same time for these shows, so look out for that as well. All right, so gentleman, dev discussion, time dedication. Now this coming to us from the official Ashes of Creation forums, where they posed. I think this is dev discussion number 61. They put this on the X and all their socials really this past week. How much time do you think someone should invest? Now, this is talking about open up care of fire ants here. How much time do you think someone should invest in order to become an expert at an MMORPG? What are the differences between an expert player versus a casual player? Time commitment, skill, and game knowledge. Cash, what do you think?
I think I want to hear your take on this.
Do you want to go first? You never go first.
You never go first. And I think that I think that you have, you get comfortable. You are a professional. Feel comfortable in your own podcast. I'm very interested to hear your perspective on this first, because of your work schedule, you fall into one of these categories pretty hard during, the early part of the week. Yeah. So before I'm going to drop some numbers on you guys when it's my turn to go. So I came up with some hard lined numbers. So that's why I'm very, very interested to get your take first.
That's such an interesting question, right?
Wow.
It's almost like like a one-off in a way. It's what it feels like. Like, how much time do you think someone should invest in order to become an expert? Well, that's going to be dependent upon what they're doing in my head in the MMO. Like
let's start with the beginning. Let's start with the first question here. Okay. We're going to start with the very first question for you. I'm going to ask it to you, and I want you to give me an answer.
Yes.
What does being an expert or a casual mean to you?
I would say being knowledgeable of the thing that you enjoy doing within the MMO.
Okay.
That I would say is expert. I mean,
it's a knowledge base.
I would say so, but I would say like knowledge from a standpoint of, okay, I'll use this as an example because I know we've done this for a long time. We've podcasted for well over a decade. We're working towards a decade and a half now. Within that time of doing podcasting, you start to learn a thing or two that you can then use to teach others. So I would say you are probably an expert at the point to which you feel knowledgeable enough that you can teach others that thing within an MMO.
That's a pretty good answer.
That's a fantastic answer. Yep. Cash. Learn one, do one, teach one, right?
Or do you want me to go? Yeah. Since you apparently are going to knock us out with a bunch of Excel spreadsheets.
No, it's not spreadsheet stuff. And, I don't have this whiz bang thing, but you go ahead and go. You go ahead and go.
I don't know if I'd be able to beat JB's answer. It kind of changed my mind, right? Like, it's obviously not time-based, right? The time-based question comes later, but like the question of what does being an expert or a casual mean to you? I think to me, it's the level in which I am dedicated to the game itself, right? Like if I'm dropping what I'm doing or I'm scheduling time away from the other things, we are adults, okay? We are adult gamers. There is always something else we could be doing, always. It doesn't matter what it is. There's always something else. And if we are scheduling time to come in and do this thing and you're doing you're reading and doing research away from it, you're not casual. I don't know if that makes you expert, but casual to me is a person that jumps into the game, enjoys it for the time that they're there, doesn't have a lot of investment in it. If they played that day, great. If they didn't play that day, You're not losing any sleep over that, right? Like I'm just casually jumping in and out of a game. If you're scheduling time to do this, like you're not casual anymore, right? Like that's where you're approaching, I guess, more dedicated than expert to me. They're almost like not the same, right? Casual and expert seem like two different scales to me, but that'd be my answer to the first question. Cash?
Yeah, and I had a little issue with how we scaled this too, and I won't get into the numbers of this first, but I actually thought too that there should be like casual, expert, and then hardcore. I think and we'll get into those when I actually get into the number, but my definition for casual, it's not necessarily to me somebody who doesn't have the time to play, but just like you were saying, Sonny, there's a lot of other things that you could be doing. So a casual player might either be somebody who has a little bit less time during the day to play. Maybe I'm not going to go into numbers yet. Maybe they have less interest in the game. Maybe they're playing multiple games. So that could also, put somebody into that casual category when it comes to playing a particular game. Somebody that's expert, like I absolutely love your definition, Jibs, about, you know enough about this particular thing, this particular game, to be able to teach others how to do it. You could further say it's somebody who has an advanced knowledge of the game systems, the story, and is skilled enough in playing that game to be able to teach others how to do it. That could certainly put you at that expert level gameplay. So I mean, at least for my definitions of what I think those two things are, that's probably where I stand.
Okay.
Want to go to the next one?
Yeah, Sonny, can you just lead us through these?
I'm going to hammer hammer these off.
Yeah, let's do that.
We'll start with Cash on this one because we went with JB first on this one. So what are the differences that you see in casual versus expert level play on a day-to-day basis in your favorite MMORPG? And we're just going to use Warcraft for an example in this because we all have enough experience in Warcraft that we can speak knowledgeably enough about what the player base looks like. So what do you see in the difference on a day-to-day basis versus a casual versus an expert, if you want to use that term?
That one can be difficult to assess in a game like World of Warcraft because, you're talking a 19-and-a-half-year-old game, right?
That's fair.
So in that game, you're going to have your players that are on, a brand new account, and then you're going to have players who've been playing the game for 20 years. So what would be the difference between?
Okay, let me throw you a curveball then on exactly the reason that we're here. In Ashes of Creation, on a day-to-day basis, if you had a person that fell into what you'd call a casual category and somebody that fell into an expert category, what would you expect those two people to be doing in Ashes of Creation?
Okay. So at some point there has to be some kind of a time range, because if both of those players are both walking through the portal from Sanctus at the same exact time, I would expect them to be doing the same exact things. You're just exploring, you're doing some basic quests, you're starting to get some basic gear. But if we're saying a casual player versus an expert player at, say, the 3-month mark, okay, now there's some time that's gone on, either time for somebody to play the game casually or for somebody to freaking neckbeard the thing, right? So the differences you're going to see folks that are in lower level gear, folks that are lower level period, folks that don't have as much skill as another person, folks that are traveling with, say they could be traveling with a group of brigands that are their same level and have the same type of gear. You're going to be able to see those differences. Now, if you're in a PvP battle, a person who's a more casual player with much less time in the game is probably going to get owned by somebody who's an expert and is putting in 6 to 8 hours a day. Those are the differences that you're going to be able to see. But I think it's so subjective, which is why I felt that like I had to put some numbers on it, which I know we're gonna end up getting there.
JB?
Yeah, I think an agreement. You said the word that I was going to say as well. This feels very, very subjective. So there's a couple of really great comments going on in chat right now. This one's from Conif, says, can someone with a 3,000 plus Mythic Plus rating say that they have some ultimate mastery over the game that someone with a lore master title cannot. That's and hold that thought on that. And this on Koala, Chief Koala says, I feel like experts will try harder to keep up with the changes like patch notes, but someone who is more casual might never even notice the changes. Both of those are great points, and both are very valid. Because ultimately, I think it goes back to what Cash said. This is very subjective. Some people are going to be experts at things that may be oddball things, but it's things they enjoy because they do it all the time. They're going to become experts at it. They enjoy lore and they're going to do a ton of questing. The list could go on. I think it's subjective.
I feel like Conniff's comment is just pointing out two different kinds of experts, right? I don't think you can distinguish between those two people. What I will say is that Koala's comment is dead nuts on, right? Like, to me, that's what we're talking about here. And it's hard to put into words, but a person that is reading a patch note and is min-maxing based off of just microscopic changes to the mechanics of the game, that is different from a casual. There is no casual player that can say that they are doing that and then say that they casually play the game. Just can't happen, right? At that point, your level of dedication to the game is taking you out into a different place. If you roll into the game and you're having fun and your gear looks like a clown vomited it up, then, you're just having a good time. You want to play with your friends. And I do this on a ton of games, right? You guys will get into a game, you'll neckbeard it out for like a month and they'll be like, we got to get Sunny into this. And then I'll jump into the game and I'll just kind of like wander around like a hobo for like a few weeks and have fun with everyone else because that's what people are doing. I'm basically doing it right now in Helldivers. Okay. I'm getting dragged around. My gun's got an orange cap on the end. It's like it's a disaster. Okay. I can't find my grenade button. I have to ask every time we play, what's the button for my grenade? And somebody tells me, and I'm having a great time. Am I a casual or an expert? I am a casual. Like, that's what we're talking about. It's a mindset. Okay, next question here in Cash. I'll give you time to load up your Excel file. I'm sure it'll bog down your whole system. We'll have to reload the stream. Is total time spent in an MMORPG an important factor for you, Cash?
For me personally, yes, it is. And the reason that I decided to go, because this is like Jibs was saying, this is a very subjective subject. There are so many things that could be factors in this. And just like a couple of our friends in chat were saying, somebody could have expertise in one area of a game, such as questing and all those things that you would do in order to earn a title called Lore Master, right? You know that one very well because I did all 3,300 freaking quests to get that title in Warcraft. I do not have a 3,000 mythic rating, but I feel that I have a really good expertise of grasp on lore and questing and all that stuff in Warcraft, right? I just don't necessarily have that much of knowledge and expertise in Mythic Plus. I do Mythic Pluses, but I've done a lot more damn quests than I have Mythic Pluses. So the questions as a whole are very, very subjective. So I tried to just kind of narrow them down so they were more simple in thought and just kind of thought like maybe they're just talking mechanics of the game. Not everybody's lore dorks like we are. So one of the big things that I hear very frequently when watching videos on games, which I guess that makes me more than a casual. So I watch a lot of videos on games. Anytime somebody does like a review game, like Force Gaming, for example, I love watching Force Gaming. I enjoy the guy. He reviews so many different games. One of the big things that they always talk about when a lot of these bigger YouTubers talk about games that they're reviewing is the time that they've spent in the games. I just got done with 500 hours in such and such, or I've put in 1,000 hours into this game and I'm here to give you my unbiased review. Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, it's going to be biased as hell. And second of all, that's a lot of damn hours. So that's why I kind of went with the with the the number of hours that you actually put into a game could at some point, depending on the quality of that gameplay, equal what your expertise might be in said game. So here we go. For a casual,
Fun stats.
for a casual, I had it at 1 to 2 hours a day. And the reason that I say this is because I have, at times in my life, I have had to be casual with games just because of things going on in my real life. And I just didn't have much time to put into those things. So I figured 1 to 2 hours per day is probably a pretty good number. So you round that out, or you average that out, you're looking at like an hour and a half per day for 30 days. That gives you 45 hours of game time. Okay. 45 hours of game time times 2 years will get you to that around 1,000 hours in that game. Okay. So as a casual player, it might take you 2 years to become an expert in a game, if those are the numbers that we're going with, right? As an expert, 2 to 4 hours per day. Okay. Average that out to 3 hours a day for 30 days. That's 90 hours a month. How long is it going to take you to reach that 1,000 hours in the game? It's 1,080 hours or 12 months. Take you 1 year if you're an expert player to master the game mechanics. Okay. Now let's take it a step further than what they were even asking. Now I'm talking the hardcore players. Okay. I've definitely been here. Some of my days off when I'm not at work, I can easily put in 8 to 12 hours. Easy. And yes, I do shower and I sometimes I shave, but I make sure, everything's clean. I'm well fed. I work out. Promise. Okay. Hardcore players, you say 6 to 8 hours per day. Okay. So if you were to take like six hours per day for 30 days, that's 180 hours per month. In order to reach over 1,000 hours can take you about 6 months if you're a neckbearder to truly master a game. So that's kind of my thought process in this whole thing. I had to actually put some numbers to it in order to discover that the more time you play, it equals more game knowledge, which ultimately will equal less time to figure out these game mechanics on the fly. You will know the game systems better on the fly during your everyday gameplay, which exponentially makes you better than the casual player at the game, not at life.
This is a hard take. I think what do you think? What do you think about this?
I don't like it, Sonny. I don't like it at all.
Go on.
I don't. Wataru made the perfect point. Sometimes 2 hours a day is all someone has. Hands are up. That's me. One hand right here.
It's true. I'm not placing any judgment on anybody. I'm just putting people into categories. That's it. I swear. I love everybody equally. Even if you play half an hour a day, I love you. You suck at the game, but.
Oh my God. Fire ants right there.
I'm not going to take that bait.
I'm just kidding.
That's below me.
You're going to have to make an awful lot of coasters to make amends for this one.
yeah, really. No kidding.
I was pointing at Wataru. I love her.
I think at the end of the day.
Would not do that.
I think at the end of the day, I disagree on the time thing. I disagree that time makes you an expert on something, because you are going to have those people, I and many others, you become quote unquote experts at things in MMOs that maybe like considered oddball things. Oh, I know exactly the time of day because that's the time I play when I can go and possibly find this fish that would show up, or I don't know, certain time of day when this mob may spawn or something. Like you become an expert in those really weird things, but they're your things because that's your gameplay loop. And so that's what becomes important to you. I think back to the days I played SWTOR. Like there was a brief time, it was probably about a month. Actually, maybe that may be gratuitous. I think it was more like, maybe 3 weeks, where I ran the STEM market on the auction house. That was my market. I'll never forget it. It was awesome. I loved it. and you would like use those for mods for your gear and stuff. So on my server at that time, that brief flash in the pan time, I felt as though for 3 weeks I was an expert on the augments, on those kinds of mods. And so I just feel as though people become experts at the things that they do in an MMO, the things that they may do on a regular gameplay loop, and the things that's the things they enjoy because you're going to be doing it. So I don't buy into the whole you have to have X amount of hours to be an expert.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with JB on this one, Cash. I really don't like hours at all as a measure. And so the question is total time spent in an MMORPG an important factor to you? And it's not. It just isn't. I think that De La Luna more or less hit JB's comment exactly right, which is it's a question of expert on the game or this part of the game. And I'll give you the example. It's Guild Wars 2 for me. Okay. So every day that I wasn't working, that I was starting to build our stream when we were doing Legends of Tyria, a different podcast that we did, I would log in and I would spend an hour adjusting my market positions in the auction house. Okay. Sometimes the whole stream, just me talking and playing the auction house. I didn't leave town. I didn't travel more than 100 yards inside of that area. That's all I did. Now, was I an expert in how the economy worked in Guild Wars 2? You're damn right I was. Like, I was an expert in any way you can qualify the word expert, okay? I only played like an hour or two per day on that game, tops. And then there would be days in between when I wasn't playing it at all. So if you average that out per day, it was maybe like a half an hour, right? But I made more money in that game than anyone that I know. And then we would go out and we'd do other things like kill a world boss. And I had to like look up who this dude was or how my sword worked or something like that, because it was ridiculous. I didn't know what I was doing. I think that you become experts in certain sections of the game based on your mindset of how into it you are, how much you want to learn. I don't think that Google is a bad thing. I Google everything, because I want to see, one, what people are saying about it, and two, whether or not I think they're right. Sometimes I don't think they're right at all. I'll disagree with them, but that's how you learn, right? So I just don't think that time is a good measure. I don't even think it's a good tool to evaluate that stuff because of the way that I would play Guild Wars 2. Just doesn't make sense to me.
But you were good at that one aspect of the game.
I was fantastic at it. I was absolutely fantastic at it.
If you were taking the time that you were spending in that game and you were spending it equally on all the different aspects of the game, it's kind of what I'm talking about. It's why I went with time, is because when you hear people talk about, I feel like I am qualified to give you my expert opinion on this game because I've put 1,000 hours into this game. You think, okay, broadly, they have played 1,000 hours spread out amongst all the different mechanics of the game. Economy, combat mechanics, trying different classes, the gear system, all these different things, PvP, PvE. That's kind of what I picture in my head, which makes this question very, very subjective as we're talking about, because it could be any one aspect of these things that people enjoy focusing on. But at the bottom line of it, and the reason that I ended up going with time is because you can't debate that. I suppose you could, because you guys are master debaters. You certainly can debate that whether or not you spend a lot of time in the game, you can become an expert after a certain amount of time. It's not drawing like a hard line on saying once you've reached 1,000 hours a year, you're an expert. Like, there's no gauge for it, obviously. But you can't debate that if you have spent a lot of time in a game, you are going to learn more about that game than somebody that has spent much less time in the game. There might be instances where that is false. right? But for the most part, it's true in my opinion. I love that you guys are disagreeing with me on this. I really do, because it brings good conversation.
I feel like, I mean, a lot of what we said in this question, and I kind of feel sometimes that the dev discussions that Intrepid writes do this a lot, where one question just leads you into the next question, with the way that people have opinions, and so this last one really dovetails into it, and it says, do you feel like you are an expert in some MMORPGs or systems within them, but not in others? So do you feel, JB? I think this is two different questions, and I think that one of them is kind of, we've already answered, right? Like, can we all agree that you can be an expert in a certain part of an MMO and not in other parts of an MMO?
Oh,
are we in agreement with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Then let me ask you this, because I think this is the better question within this question. Do you feel like you've played some MMOs in your lifetime where you played it like an expert, and other MMOs that you played it like a casual, even though you're an MMORPG player?
Yes, but
can you think of any?
Honestly, I can think more of the original question, like when it says, "Do you feel you're an expert in some MMORPGs or systems within them?" I'm going to answer that. I think I'm. If there's anything I feel like I'm familiar with and I tend to do well at, it's a system within the MMORPG. But even that, it's like a part of a system. For me, I think of battlefield tactics when we are in PvP or combat. There's a reason why I like playing ranged classes, because I can see the battlefield. I can clearly make out call outs. I can start like, hey, even before things happen, like, hey, pay attention to here because there's a solid chance they're coming here, and here's why, blah, 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 blah. For me, I feel like battlefield tactics in an MMORPG is something I feel comfortable doing. I enjoy doing. I feel like I do a relatively good job at it. But again, that's not a system within the MMO. It's just something that helps you within the MMO, I feel. So,
okay, I'm going to stop you because I want you to answer the hard question. That's the easy question.
Okay. Thank you.
Because I know you are good at that. And I know you are an expert in that. Just like me in the economy, right? Like,
sure, yeah.
It's a system inside a system. And I know that you are good at that in certain games. Can you think of an MMO as a whole that you played that you would say, yeah, I was an expert in this? And then another MMO that you played that you say, I played this one like a casual? Or do you play all MMOs with the same mindset?
There was not an MMO overall I could say I was an expert, but I will say I played, even though it was one of our highlights of our podcasting career, I played Elder Scrolls Online like a casual, and I loved every second of it. Every second of it.
Oh, that I did not expect that. That's kind of spicy.
Yeah.
Cash, what do you think about that?
I am completely in the opposite spectrum on that one, because I have for a very long time been a one game dude. I have just, I'd say probably within the last few years, have learned with the advice of some very wise friends of mine to have an off game, especially when you're content creating. Like you got to throw that one in there. I know a lot of people don't content create, but you know, for us, content creating about one game and not having an off game, and usually that off game for us becomes like something that's totally different, shooter, right? Some type of a shooter, maybe a top-down RTS, something like that. But I have like my schedule and like this isn't a boast, but I've just been lucky to have a really cool work schedule. Like when I'm home, I have like my girls are off doing, like my daughter will be at school, my wife's at work. Dudes, I'm playing games, man. That's what I'm doing. So I fell into the camp of I do not play MMOs casually. I have not played an MMO casually in a decade. Every single one that I play, I'm looking up builds. I'm on YouTube when I can't be in front of the computer. I'm content creating about it, most likely. And when I can play the game, I'm playing for several hours. Here's the numbers again. Several hours at a session. So yeah, I think I'm kind of in that opposite direction. And I don't ever play two MMOs at one time. I hate splitting my time. So yeah, like time is a huge factor for me. And there are several games, and I know we talk about it a lot, but World of Warcraft, yeah, I feel like in a lot of ways, I am a damn good expert at World of Warcraft. I can walk a new person through the mechanics of Warcraft. I can recall spells on classes that I haven't played in years, understand play styles. Obviously, know like basics of an MMO like Holy Trinity, group makeup, mechanics of the game. Hell yeah, I'm an expert in a lot of MMOs that I play. Am I the best at it? No, certainly not, because I just saw something in chat a little while ago about I'm still learning. I forget who it was, and I apologize, but they're still learning things about their MMO. I think it was Firebrand said it. Still learning things about the MMO that they play. New things all the time because things are constantly being added. It doesn't mean that person's not an expert in that. It just means that you can be an expert and still learning at the same time. But yeah, there's some games that I played that I absolutely think I'm an expert in.
I want to go back to JB then here. After listening to Cash say that, JB, what do you still agree with your statement that you were playing Elder Scrolls as a casual? What would make you say that?
I will say,
you sound like such a lawyer, dude.
I will say,
training, man, it doesn't leave you.
well, the cross-referencing portion of him makes him for an excellent interviewer. That's one thing I've noticed about him. He comes back with follow-ups and I'm thinking, wow, I was not thinking that. Well done. I'm going to agree with it, except for one thing. I will say, after I said that, I thought there was a time when I felt as though I was very good at a bow build for a particular class. Actually, I had made and I put it on because at the time we had a website, and I think it was a stamina night blade that used a bow, and it just hit like a truck. And that was the first and I think only build I've ever done. So I think if there was a thing I was an expert in, it was that. But that was like one of my main classes, like that I really enjoyed for PvP specifically. So, but outside of that, yes, I really did, because it was weird, because it was like I was playing casually in the grand scheme, I feel, but because you're so invested in the community that's surrounding you, and that time it was the Lore Seekers, but even on a grander scale, the ESO community, you felt like you were in it all the time. Like you were always there. Like you may not have been in Tamriel, but you were in Tamriel, so it's just, it's weird. I don't know how, like, unless you've experienced it, like you can just, any content creator could probably attest to that. It's just, I don't know. Yeah, I do. I still think, yes, I was probably playing that very casually, even though I didn't feel like it.
I feel like I play most MMOs casually, with the exception of the economy. I really am just in those things to have fun. I really am. And you look at like what I'm excited about in this game and the things that I talk about, and it's the freehold system, right? And does that scream like hardcore expert to you? No, it screams like social place to get together, and how can I build social systems so that we can have a good time on our little plantation, and then how can I make a bunch of money. Now, when it comes to the economy thing, that's like hardcore, right? Anybody that's getting spreadsheets out and doing that kind of stuff, you can't argue that they're casual about that. But overall, on the big picture of things, I think I almost always play MMOs pretty casually. There are some things that just make it difficult to say that I'm an expert because I don't play alts. So right there you have one out of how many classes that I'm playing, right? So I don't have that. I know how to play against those classes. PvP is something that's interesting, but like sometimes I'll get into that. I just feel like I almost universally do that, but I don't think that I treat every game the same. I don't think that I play it like Cash does. So yeah, Cash, you got any final thoughts on this?
Yeah, I actually have a grenade to throw in your lap. And I'm gonna draw a hard line for you on this one, because Ashes does tote some very hard lines when it comes to the way that the design of this MMO is going to be. A lot of the debate that is out there about Ashes is this game even going to be for casuals? With the pillars that they have, with the risk versus reward, people that neckbeard the game, are they going to be the ones running the roost? So I'm going to throw this grenade in your lap, and I kind of want to see, as a casual player, how you'll answer this. Is Ashes of Creation conducive to the casual player, and how?
That's the shocked-faced thumbnail with him looking off at the text in a shocked manner.
With this eyebrow up.
It's a 4-minute and 55 long video that's answered in about 10 seconds. Continue.
I think that's the real danger, right? The real danger is to have a game that is not playable by the casual player. I think that in this day and age, that's tough. Because you make a game for the 1% or the 2%. Well, guess how many percent that is that's paying your bottom line when 98% leave. That's a tough way to keep in business, right? So if you do that, is there enough to keep that together? You have to have both. You have to. It's the way that good MMOs are designed. If you have a hardcore environment that drives out casual players that just want to be in the game and enjoy the social aspects, you're not going to be in business for long enough. I just truly believe that. I don't think you can have a game that's that hardcore that's a AAA game like this. And so, I hope Ashes has enough of a gameplay style for that. I know our community will have some people that are hardcore that know everything about this game. And they correct me all the time on the stream, and I'm thankful they're there. They're very polite about it. They say, hey, no, he said this 9 years ago while he was walking to the restroom. Got it. Thanks for giving me the quote on that. I totally believe you. I don't have any reason to disbelieve you. And then you have other people that are just going to be like enjoying the experience, like me. I'm just going to be enjoying the experience.
Jibs, do you feel like if you are going to be playing this game casually, that you are going to have to maybe pigeonhole yourself into maybe one or two different things that the game has to offer in order to be effective?
No, not at all. Because at that point, you look at the game as an RPG aspect that is with multiplayer, with people. It's RPG first, multiplayer second. Because ultimately what happens whenever you may have, if you're like me, you get everyone home, you make dinner, everything's good to go. Like, you're a working adult with a family, man, so like maybe 2 hours a day tops, weekend's a different story, but maybe 2 hours a day. Well, what that does for me, and I don't know if anyone else here feels that way, but it does for me, is it slows it down. It slows the game down for me in a good way, in a healthy way, because then I have the entirety of Vera to go through at my fingertips, and I can choose how to go through the entirety of Vera in my own pacing, how I choose to. It's ultimately like what I choose to invest myself in. Ultimately, everyone's going to play an MMO for a different reason. And for myself, for Ashes specifically, one of those reasons is being able to do what I want and enjoy it. Enjoy every day that I'm in there. Yes, there will always be that level of frustration. Like, I wish I could do this, but hey, I'm a husband and a father. Like, that obviously comes first, so it's a no-brainer, right? But at the end of the day, I think it's just being happy and knowing the fact that there is a huge game out there that I can take my time and sink my teeth into.
Yeah, and I think another thing that goes along with that is, if you are a casual player, because I absolutely emphatically believe, even though I tossed a grenade underneath Sunny's chair and ran, I absolutely believe that there is plenty for you to do as a casual player in Ashes of Creation. And I think if you surround yourself with good folks, then, folks that will help support the things that you like to do, and then you turn around and support them with the things that you like to do as a character, I think there will be a place for everybody in Ashes of Creation. I also think that if you are a casual player, if you concentrate on quality things when you are in the game, when you actually do have time to play the game, and you're taking that time to say, plan out, hey, I'm only on for 2 hours. I want to get on there with my friends. We've already planned it out. We're going to go hit this dungeon. We're going to go hunt down Tumok. We're going to go, harvesting. Tonight's Tuesday. We go Taco Tuesday in the tavern and we finish it off with harvesting night, right? So you go take off and do stuff. So the things that you're doing during your shorter play sessions are quality things in the game. You absolutely can become an expert. It is the quality, not necessarily, I know I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit with my own points, but it is the quality of that time that you're putting into the game as opposed to the raw time.
I like what Penumbral says in chat, and this was earlier, not referencing particularly your point. Cash says, "Quote: Who cares? Just play, have fun, and do whatever you want." I love that.
It's true, but then you have devs that drop questions like this to the community and just run out of the room as it catches fire.
Yeah, when you want to talk about tossing a grenade into the room and then running and then just grabbing your popcorn. Let's watch this one.
Let's watch the focus group on this one.
Yeah.
Oh, well, this was fun, fellas. I had a good time on this one. This is good. Well, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. This was LoreForged. And before we go any further, let us know what you think about this, the time dedication. A lot of our audience is on YouTube. So let us know in the comments below what you felt over this, or even send us a voicemail or an email as well. Like you heard tonight with the mailbag. So anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, let us know how we're doing, whether it be on YouTube comments or, of course, any kind of podcast review. Or any podcast app where you can review us. For every 5-star written review that we have on Apple Podcasts, we will read your review right here on the show. And you can always call us 516-875-1776. And you can email us at loreforgedhq@gmail.com. Sunny.
Have you ever noticed that people really enjoy our show because we don't always agree with each other? I'm starting to see this being a theme.
Yeah.
What are these other shows where everyone agrees with each other?
I haven't really seen a whole lot of people like fully agreeing with each other all the time. I mean, I think maybe it's just because we're friends, so we know, we're not going to send each other death threats over disagreeing over something. We can disagree over a lot of stuff because, we're 3 different gamers or 3 different game styles. So we should be disagreeing on a lot of this stuff,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Makes for good conversation.
Yeah.
It does make it pretty interesting. I can tell you one thing we're all going to agree on, and that is that I'm not shaving my head, so I don't care what the chat says. You can visit LoreForged.com to find links to all of our Ashes of Creation content, including our new merch shop, which has got, honestly, we were a little bit worried because we didn't demo the quality on the merch shop before we kind of put it out there to some people. And we got lucky because it's real good stuff. I personally own some of it and I love it. I don't think it's quite as good as the gift that we got, but it's pretty good stuff. If you go to YouTube, you can find all of our videos, and that is youtube.com/@LoreForged. Twitch, you're watching Twitch right now. If you're watching Twitch right now, that's twitch.tv/LoreForgedHQ. And then, of course, we have Patreon, and all of our Patreon members, I don't think we have a name for them yet, they can get all of our content early, including the State of the Owl, and that is our behind the scenes once a month extra bonus content extravaganza, and that's at patreon.com/LoreForgedHQ. Cash.
Friends, if you are on the X, you can follow Jibs at JibsIRL. You can follow myself at Cash Quests. You can follow Sunny at U of Coruscant. Don't forget to follow the show for announcements on all the things that we're doing, and that is at LoreForged HQ. I do want to reiterate again that we are now on Instagram. Yes?
Yes.
Maybe just me so far.
Yeah. So, well, at least we're there. So if you're on the gram, then come join us over there. And that's at LoreForged HQ. I don't know what this means for X. X has been weird.
X is weird. It's weird.
We don't love X.
we don't like it.
We don't love X. It has since it changed hands. I think so many people have left that it's just very, very strange being over there.
It's weird
right now. And honestly, we're over there because Intrepid's over there, and we don't want to miss a peep. We don't want to miss anything. But they're also on the Instagrams.
Yeah.
Which makes it fun. I think we could probably be kind of fun and interactive and integrate some more visual stuff on Instagram, which I think is really cool. So anyway, we're going to give the Instagram thing a go and see how it goes and try and spark up some conversation. So if you're there, come join us on Instagram at LoreForgedHQ. I do want to say a major love and thank you and welcome to the family to a couple of new Discord members. One very easy to pronounce, another not so easy to pronounce. The first one, welcome Wookie to the family. Appreciate that. We're really happy to have you. And the next one, which I'm going to have to take a full breath to say and actually had to sound it out. Mr. Shoko Kukenmonster, which is spelled a lot more difficult than I just said that. I want to thank you for the challenge on that one, Mr. Kukenmonster.
You said it as American as humanly possible for a German word. Shoko Kukenmonster.
It's like saying, make yourself a dang quesadilla.
That's exactly what that was. It was the quesadilla pronunciation of that word.
Heck yeah.
Well, it's very difficult to pronounce things. Just ask Jibs.
Whoa, did you see that go past?
Spot.
It's like someone threw a dagger. It almost hit me, but it missed.
Wait, it's in my back. Oh, no.
Oh, there it is. I found it.
Jibs has years of experiencing mispronouncing some shit. I'll tell you that right now. Try and get him to pronounce a Dwemer word from Elder Scrolls. It's like,
you know what?
Whoa.
They don't count.
You can stop hitting him. He's dead.
Yeah, he loves it.
There's my body right there.
Look at him
It's
smiling.
actually outlined.
Look at him smile with every abdominal kick.
Yeah, that's right. Try more. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. We love you. Long time. Have a great week. And we'll see you later.
Yeah, yellow flag.
Why?
You cannot end a show like that.
What'd I say?
Start over.
What's wrong?
No.
You can't be love you long time to
No. Come on.
I'm just saying we love them.
No. Anyone that saw a movie in the 80s is not hearing that.
You can love them. You just can't love them long time, bro.
Okay.
Try again.
Friends.
Start over. Try again.
Friends, we love you extra long time. Have a great week. I'll see you, everybody.
Peace, love, and honeybees.
Safe travels, adventurers.